Hey Reddit. Serious, the UK has left the European Union. If you voted Brexit, why? How will it benefit you personally? Like and subscribe to support the channel. And share why you voted Brexit in the comments below. I can finally travel Europe without worrying about my arrest warrant in the UK. I don't care who is right or who is wrong. But this is hands down the best reason I've ever heard for voting leave. Haha, I like yours. I have no regrets whatsoever. The EU is moving closer and closer to becoming a federation. Other than that, the EU is quite flawed. And the idea that it can be reformed from the inside is quite ludicrous. I don't want to be dragged down by the Romanian or Greek economy. If it was a union between the Nordics, France, Germany, Britain, I don't think anyone would complain. The countries being so similar in economics, culture, etc. would make such a union far stronger, without being dragged down by far worse economies that don't care what we say anyway. I don't agree with you. But I really hope you get upvotes because you're one of the very few giving a genuine answer to the question as asked. As an American, I'm looking at your response and wondering how that would look in the US. We're a federation already. We have worse economies in states like Alabama and Mississippi, dragging down states like California and New York, who subsidize those worse economies with their surplus tax dollars and don't care about what most people want. People literally say, "We don't want to be ruled by NYNCA," and completely dismiss the fact that people comprise the boundaries we call states. And culture varies widely across the states. But we're all still one, and if anybody broke off, it'd be considered weakening the federation. Comparing the differences between American states to the differences between European countries is ridiculous. European countries have language barriers and 1,000 years of fighting each other to separate them. American states have, they're more conservative, liberal than us, and they speak funny, the same differences you get between regions of any country. There is nothing similar between Nordic and British culture. The only reason I can see you wanting the union you described is because those countries are rich. What's the point of replying to this post if you're a genuine leaver? For expressing your opinion on voting to leave a trade bloc, you are going to be downvoted to oblivion. Everyone here does realize this is the precise reason a large portion of people who voted for leave in the referendum did so. Their opinions shot down before anyone asks why people are feeling that way. Most leavers did vote in that way because of immigration. So what? If you disagree with their reasoning, debate them. Don't just label them racist Nazis cause they are worried about 300,000 people entering the country a year. Every year for 20 years. Personally, as a true liberal, I voted leave because I believe a smaller governing body is better for the people as they are more effective for the smaller amount of people they serve. An unelected closed-off group of people shouldn't be able to dictate laws to 28 different countries. I don't feel that the same laws would be effective in two culturally diverse countries. My beef with leave is all the problems were our own governments doing, not the EU's. Our government chose not to have immigration caps when the Eastern Bloc entered the EU. That immigration was high should be blamed on our own system. Nearly every other EU member used the available cap for immigrants from new states. Yet people act like the EU is at fault. Blame Westminster. And now we're stuck with only Westminster morons to watch over us. And have you seen how the last 2+ years have gone? I'm actually extremely interested in answers to this question from people of both sides. Brexit is not a blanket good or bad thing. It will affect a huge amount of things, and some people will be mostly negatively affected but have some positives too. This thread has the potential to let people see more sides of the argument and hopefully help heal some of the division the country has over the matter. I personally have this opinion after speaking to an Indian doctor who I find to be balanced, intelligent and well-reasoned, who had voted leave. I realized then that it's not a good-bad issue and people's priorities can be very different from what I may assume. Removed. A lot of it comes down to domestic politics being stagnated, and the EU was a scapegoat for other issues. Towns and small cities across the UK are deprived of industry, jobs, and evolution onto the modern stage. Aside from the facts above, a majority of people are sad with the status quo. Thirdly, the notion of restrictions. The EU places high legal, economical restrictions on trade. Goods have to be of specific quality, ergo making less money. Additionally, sovereignty of Parliament is eroded with the EU institutions superseding binding authority. There are a variety of reasons. I think ultimately it's the scapegoat argument. Myself and many people alike are trying to remain optimistic about future prospects. Finally, we have a majority government that can pass legislation and actually get stuff done. So here's to the UK's sovereignty. Hope we don't frick it up. And more so retain friendship with our EU friends. Last night one of the Brexiteers on Sky News was saying that one of the benefits of leaving is that now politicians won't be able to blame Brussels for everything and will have to be more personally accountable from now on. It's almost as if they knew the EU wasn't to blame for London's frick-ups. Except they'll still try to blame them anyway. Same way the Conservatives still blame Labour's past mistakes and Trump still blames Obama. Removed. Depending on what industry you work in. Continued EU mandates supporting European multinationals over small businesses. I voted Remain in 16. But after being made redundant in 19 due to new EU legislation absolutely murdering all but the biggest players in my industry, mobile power systems. Stage 5 emissions requiring individual type approval rather than calculated outputs. Rendered small bespoke solutions non-viable. Among other pieces of more recent legislation, Article 13. The moves to further solidify the pillars. EU Army etc. I find myself quite happy that it is happening. Interesting, but I'm not seeing how it's going to be any different now. There are only two regulatory regimes in the world, EU and USA. We are going to have to conform to one or both far-right Tories saying we can forge our own, or idiots or cynical sophists. All that's happened is we've lost our input and voting rights into one of those trading blocks. We could have had willing politicians with negotiators in positions of influence to fix the problems you describe. We don't now, and the idea that the Tories will support small, innovative businesses over multinational corporations is risible. I voted Leave because I think that large, all-encompassing systems of government are dangerous. They're all fun and beneficial until they become something like China. I don't want to live in a super-state, and that's what I feel the EU will eventually become. I didn't vote Leave for any short-term benefit or flaws, I voted it for the long term. But you do realize that the UK is already a big surveillance state with no privacy right. Your laws are worse than ours, no hate. Removed. The EU is not a democracy. The EU Parliament has no parliamentary roles. It is a fake. Unelected people run this state. And obviously do not represent the people of this area. The UK may be only the beginning of either a complete reform of the EU or its deconstruction. This should absolutely be higher. It's insane that people wish to have their government underneath multiple layers of anonymous international bureaucracy. I voted Leave because I am a socialist old Labour man. The EU is an organisation devoted to taking power away from the accountable level, the national government, so it can be exercised on behalf of big business. Saying that as a citizen of the UK strikes me as a bit funny. Wouldn't you agree that the EU actually has a decent track record in the areas of consumer protection, antitrust, environmental protection, privacy protection, and all of these are areas where your national government has had less than a stellar track record in the last decades. In fact, I firmly believe that the Leave campaign was pushed by big finance interested in less oversight. and fear that the years to come will bring another wave of US-style dismantling of social systems and health care now that the government is free from the chains of pesky Eurocrats.